Black folks tend to make a more spiced carrot cake with classic homemade cream cheese frosting. This recipe is bursting with flavors of carrots, the crunch of black walnuts, spice of nutmeg, plus a creamy texture from beaten egg whites, along with a beautiful aroma of cinnamon. Welcome to the Soul Food Pod. The first soul food podcast about Southern soul food. I'm your host, Shaunda Necole, cookbook author and food and lifestyle blogger, making life easier plus more soulful, one recipe at a time. What makes me an expert on authentic soul food? My heritage dates back to my great-grandmother Florence, a highly esteemed North Carolinian one-woman catering queen. In honor of my grandma Florence's legacy, I run the world's #1 soul food website today. I'm a born and raised Southern girl living my best life in the fabulous entertainment and food capital of the world, Las Vegas. I'm so proud to share my family's African American soul food recipes, representing our beautiful people and a legacy of what we eat. My mission here on the Soul Food Pod is to provide you with recipes for success. So join me as I create conversations about how accessible and approachable classic Southern soul food recipes can be. I'll teach you how these iconic recipes are now easy enough for anyone to make and everyone to love. Hello, you beautiful souls. Spring has sprung and Easter is hopping on in. And here's what you beautiful soul readers of my blog, The Soul Food Pot, had to say about what has to be on your Easter Sunday dinner table. For Easter main dishes, Linda from Alabama says a baked ham, while Kimala says it has to be a honey baked ham. Felicia from my home state of Virginia agreed, saying that her family always includes a brown sugar glazed ham to honor her mother's memory. So sweet. In Arkansas, Joyce says it's gotta be ham and dressing because simply put, it's a forever family tradition. Eddie in Illinois says pot roast is his family's tradition, while Sandra from Florida said it has to be these 4: ham, mac and cheese, greens, and sweet tea. If it's something different, her husband will accuse her of acting brand new. Y'all know how we do. Fifi and Leah from Minnesota agreed, which takes us to our favorite must-have Easter dinner sides. Kelly from Maryland has to have deviled eggs because her grandma said so. Need she say more? Gina from Texas agrees, but says to also include a lime drink to break up the normalcy on the table. Even Iris in Japan co-signed the deviled eggs with the addition of potato salad. Pam from Maryland always has collard greens because it's a recipe for anyone's diet, whether that's vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or dairy-free. I was waiting for more of this dish, and Sally Renee and Val in Georgia echoed my sentiments that there must be mac and cheese along with the ham. Then Dorothy said turkey and dressing, and Millie in Washington had a beautiful response that in honor of her father, her family always includes chicken and cornbread dressing on Easter Sunday because it was her dad's favorite meal. Now, as for Easter desserts, Lisa Sophie of California says it has to be coconut cake. Check out this episode's description for the Soul Food Pot recipes to many of your fan favorite must-haves. And thank you to everyone that shared their favorite Easter food family traditions with me. Now let's talk about some of my favorite kitchen gadgets to help with your Easter food preparations, starting with what's called a pie shield. To protect the edges of your pies from overcooking while baking, sometimes you need a little more time in the oven to firm up the center of that sweet potato pie, and a pie shield will preserve the edges of your crust from burning. There's also a handy gadget called a cake scraper. It helps you easily make a nice clean coat of frosting on the outside of a cake with stacked layers. I use this for red velvet cakes, and it would work lovely for a coconut cake recipe too. Now let's talk a little bit about Easter table setting ideas. Author Jarrell Guy of Black Girl Baking has partnered with one of my favorite brands, Anthropology, to ring in spring's sweetest celebrations with Jarrell's tabletop picks for elevated entertaining. You'll love her original patterns and colorfully vibrant designs from an incredibly talented cookbook author, blogger, and baker. You can find the link and the pictures and descriptions to these super helpful kitchen gadgets and table setting ideas in the episode's description. Be sure to check it out and thank me later. For this recipe, my great grandma's old fashioned carrot cake, a KitchenAid stand mixer, KitchenAid slicer and shredder attachment, and an egg white separator can make your time in the kitchen a lot simpler. My life totally changed with my first, yes, I have two, KitchenAid stand mixers. Mixing and baking, hands free? Yes, tell me if you agree. Do you want to make the most flavorful and delicious vegetables and meats? Do you have the most flavorful seasonings in your pantry or in your spice rack? No worries if you don't have the answers to these questions. I've got you with my step-by-step digital printable guides to take your taste buds to new heights. I put together a collection of the best African American seasonings and spices, recipes passed along from my grandma to mom to me, and now to you in my easy step-by-step cookbooks and guides of all that's flavorful with these ultimate lists for soul food seasonings and how to season Southern fried chicken. Grab them from Shaunda Necole shop.com, ShaundaNecoleshop.com. Also linked for your convenience in the episode description. So today we're talking about my great grandma's old-fashioned carrot cake recipe. Do you love old-fashioned dessert recipes? This simple, handwritten carrot cake recipe was passed down from generation to generation. I asked my mom if she could find the original recipe. Written on a torn half sheet of yellow notepad paper and a black ballpoint pen, this recipe was preserved by my mom over 50 years ago, tucked away in an old-fashioned cardboard recipe box. Undoubtedly, the original recipe was still in our family's keepsakes because my mom is an exceptional lady. Her greatest gifts and talents are collecting, organizing, and resharing family photos and heirlooms. In fact, I once shared a blog post about a Christmas gift she gave me with a box of my childhood drawings and writings that painted a clear and precise picture of my future and the work that I do some 30 years fast forward today. If you're curious about what I uncovered in the box and how it's manifested today, I'll link to that story in my podcast episode recap on thesoulfoodpod.com. Now, it was one day, 1970 something, with direction from my great grandmother, who I called Mama, an esteemed and highly sought after caterer in the small southern town of Wilson, North Carolina. Mama shared her famous recipe exclusively with my mom. It's important to note that my mom was Mama's daughter-in-law, not one of her two daughters or four granddaughters that Mama also raised. To keep her carrot cake recipe's legacy alive, Mama trusted my mom to write it down as she gave my mom step-by-step instructions with precise measurements and secret ingredients. One of the reasons behind this recipe's blockbuster success is a secret ingredient that makes this carrot cake recipe the moistest and most delicious. My great grandmother's very own recipe development, a secret ingredient way older than me. So you can imagine it took some serious family conversations and convincing to share it with you and the rest of the world today. So you should be crying tears of joy when eating this carrot cake. Just kidding. Well, maybe not kidding. An inherited soul food recipe from my great grandma, this Southern carrot cake is the best carrot cake you'll ever have. And it's my family's tradition to serve carrot cake for Easter dinner every year. So this recipe's secret, not so secret anymore, ingredient is beaten stiff egg whites to moisten the cake batter. That's what makes the carrot cake recipe the moistest and the most delicious. And here are my recipe pro tips for how to do this. So how to beat the egg whites until they form stiff peaks? When mixing, you want to gently fold the egg whites into the batter until the whites disappear. The mixture will then significantly loosen. It's amazing when you see. When it comes to this old-fashioned carrot cake recipe, people often ask me questions like, how do you make the carrot cake moist from scratch? Well, the egg whites beaten to stiff peaks make this carrot cake recipe extremely moist and extremely delicious. And then, what are stiff peaks in eggs? Well, stiff peaks are formed when you lift up your beater and you get a nice peak that holds its shape rather than melting away like soft peaks. How long does it take to beat eggs to stiff peaks? Usually 4 to 5 minutes by simply beating the egg whites until stiff peaks form and the tips stand straight. Now, what would I recommend as a good substitute for eggs to make the cake vegan? Instead of eggs, you could use applesauce, carrot puree, coconut oil, pineapple, or mashed bananas for a vegan carrot cake recipe. Now, before we go, let's cover some of carrot cake's origin and legacy frequently asked questions, starting with, what nationality is carrot cake? Carrot cake is thought to have originated in England during World War II in the 30s and 40s when housewives began using carrots to naturally sweeten their confections. What is a Black folks' Southern soul food carrot cake? Soul food carrot cake is a Southern dessert specialty enjoyed by many African American families as a sweet holiday tradition. Black folks tend to make a more spiced carrot cake with classic homemade cream cheese frosting. This recipe is bursting with flavors of carrots, the crunch of black walnuts, spice of nutmeg, plus a creamy texture from beaten egg whites, along with a beautiful aroma of cinnamon. Now, people ask me, why is carrot cake called carrot cake? Well, carrot cake name is derived from the shredded carrot found in the recipe. Simply that. The carrot was initially added to give the cake a naturally sweet flavor with a moist texture. Carrot cake today still incorporates carrots with granulated sugar as the sweetener. It's rich and flavorful, often topped with nuts and a cream cheese frosting. This is my great grandma's iconic secret ingredient, Southern soul food carrot cake recipe, handed down from great grandma to mom to me. Now I want to hear from you in the comments. How are you preserving the legacy of your family recipes? Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Soul Food Pod. Did you enjoy today's conversation and recipe? If you want more easy to make soul food recipes and Southern food for the soul, then follow me for ideas that make your life easier plus more soulful. Subscribe here to the Soul Food Pod and subscribe to my food blog, thesoulfoodpot.com. On the Instagrams, follow me at Shaunda Necole. Have you had today's recipe? Would you make it? Comment below and let me know. And make sure you rate this podcast 5 stars and subscribe for all the soul food.